Last month, we looked at Nehemiah 1 and prayers that build a nation. And I actually want to keep going into Nehemiah because Nehemiah is this wonderful story of the people of Israel rebuilding their lives after they've been in slavery. And there's this picture of they've built the temple of Jerusalem. And they have a place of worship, but they don't have a place to live. And so they start to build walls around their city so they have a safe place to function and to live. And it's a beautiful metaphor of how we can be in our life, that we can have this temple, we can have our experience of worshiping God on a Sunday, but if we don't build a life around it, it does not have the safety and the overflow of what God wants to have in our lives. And so we get to Nehemiah 4, and in Nehemiah 4, there has been such opposition to them rebuilding these walls by other nations, and it's coming from all sides, and they're having to protect themselves, and they're having threats about their lives happening. And then suddenly we get to verse 10, and it's not an external opposition, but an internal opposition. And in verse 10 of chapter 4, it goes, "Meanwhile, the people of Judah said, the strength of the laborers is giving out, and there is so much rubble that we cannot rebuild the wall." And I just felt God speak to me on this, because what we don't understand about this statement is that these people have been living in slavery for so long. And so what they are seeing in the rubble is the things they used to do as slaves. And so they see the rubble and they don't see the wall that's being built, the wall that means that they are being rebuilt as a nation, that they are moving into right relationship with God, and they only see the rubble around them and they fear having to clear it out. And one thing I want to say to you today is, there can be rubble in our lives. There can be rubble of stuff that has just been sitting there that God goes, that is not who you are anymore. That is not who I've designed you to be. And he actually sometimes calls us to be part of the clearing out process of that rubble. And we can just see the rubble and go, it's too much. It's just who I am. We can see the fleshly things of us. That's who I am. And that is not who we are in God. And what we're not realizing, what the people of Judah didn't realize, is here they were clearing out the rubble for their own freedom, for their reconciliation, for their redemption. And sometimes God raises in us some things that we need to clear out to allow him to come in, because he's wanting to build in a greater level of freedom into our lives. He's wanting to build in a greater sense of who he is into our lives. And sometimes that means moving some rubble. And if we can't see what he is building, in the case of Jerusalem, it was the walls. In our lives, it's about us being a new creation, finding identity in who he is, building right relationship with him, becoming intimate with the Father, moving in what he wants us to move. If we can't see what he is building in our lives, all we see is the fleshly rubble that is yet to be cleared. But God does not want us to stay slaves of something that he has freed us from. And so I want to encourage you. You may be looking at parts of your life and going, how can God intervene? How can God be a part of this? Or feeling a guilt or a shame over things in your life that feel like rubble that just can't be removed. And I want to say to you today, God wants to clear that stuff out of your life, because the truth is that is not who you are anymore. You are his creation. You are his son and daughter. And so I just want to encourage you of that. And if you do not know God, and you think there is some stuff in your life that is too much for even him to clear out, he has been a God that gives freedom to people since day one. And yes, it may mean that you have to pick up some of that stuff, and it may be painful at times, but turn your eyes to what he is building in your life, because it is so much more than some of the rubble and the hurt and the pain and the things that are so fleshly in our lives. It is so much more than all of that. God wants us to experience true freedom in him. Hey, thanks for watching that video. Make sure you like and subscribe and hit the bell icon so you know when our next video comes out. Have an awesome week.